Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, together with the Presidential Communications Office.
We bring you the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news coverage from the People's Television, IBC, Philippine News Agency, Philippine Information Agency, and Presidential Broadcast Service. I'm Princess Habiba Saripauda.
And I'm Joe Fernandez from Radyo Pilipinas. Welcome to
Balitang Pambansa.
Tonight's headlines. As the country celebrates the feast of Jesus Nazareno, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. urges Filipinos to face challenges with faith, grace, and have deeper bond with the Almighty. Catholic devotees join the Translacion and try to climb the andas or carriage bearing the image of Jesus Nazareno. Let's find out the location of the andas in just a short while. Devotees witness one of the highlights of Translacion, the Dungaw or La Mirata, where Jesus Nazareno meets the image of Nuestra Señora del Carmen de San Sebastián. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden, and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba are scheduled for a trilateral phone call on January 12. Construction of the 15.5-kilometer Metro Rail Transit or MRT4 that is set to benefit 400,000 passengers daily will start next year. The President called on the people to emulate what the Jesus Nazareno image stands for: sacrifice and service. Each and every one his or her cross to bear, to sacrifice, to make every day in surviving life's challenges, even as we help raise our families and pursue our dreams and happiness. Then there's duty to serve the community and the country and build bridges toward each other, as we hear more from PTV's Kenneth Paciente.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. expressed his message of solidarity as the Feast of Jesus Nazareno is commemorated today. The President emphasized how this tradition, rooted in deep sacrifice, gives many the strength to find unity through faith as one nation. The President noted, this feast day is a reminder of the sacrifice of the Lord to save the world. It also serves as proof of God's power and omnipresence, listening to the prayers and pleas of many in their times of need. The President urged the people to remember that challenges must be met with unwavering faith in God and with a willingness to help those in need. The President expressed hope this day will strengthen the faith of every devotee participating in the procession, creating a deeper connection with the Almighty and a greater purpose in serving others. The President is also confident that Filipinos can live out the example of the Nazarene in their daily lives, acting as bearers of hope, peacemakers, and builders of society who transform their communities through simple acts of kindness. As thousands walk barefoot in prayer and selflessness today, the President said such acts remind us that no burden is too heavy, no sacrifice so small or light when one has complete trust and faith in God. From PTV Manila, Kenneth Paciente, Balitang Pambansa.
Although the procession transpires in many parts of Manila, as the image is guided through narrow paths and bigger roads of the country's capital city, Quiapo will always be the heart of this religious tradition. That's why it's always prudent to check on this area from time to time to give us a good sense of how and when the Translacion will end when the image is almost at the doorstep of Quiapo Church. Here to give us an update live from Quiapo Church is PTV's Alan Francisco. Alan, good evening.
Good evening, Joe. As of this moment, the andas of the Jesus Nazareno is currently traversing JP de Guzman Street, heading towards Hidalgo Street in Manila. It will then left to Quezon Boulevard and will turn right to Palanca Street through under Quezon Bridge. From there, it will turn right to Villalobos Street, passing Plaza Miranda, heading towards here in Quiapo Church. According, Joe, to the Quiapo Church management, they have stopped counting the crowd or devotees joining the procession as of 8 p.m. earlier because they are currently organizing the data. They will provide updates to the media as soon as the final report is completed. Meanwhile, the Quiapo Church management stated that they have not received any information regarding the alleged stampede earlier in the area of Santa Rita College. Earlier, Reverend Father Robert Arellano, the spokesperson of the Quiapo Church, led the Mass, focusing on the reason why many devotees follow the Nazarene, emphasizing that the answer cannot be explained by reason alone. And that's the latest here at the Quiapo Church. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you so much, Alan Francisco.
Meanwhile, the Dungaw or Lamirata is a highlight in the Translacion inserted in 2014 that epitomizes a mother's presence in the life of her child as a significant and constant role she plays all throughout. And as the Translacion wins its way to its home in Quiapo Church, in a few hours, a needed stopover at the Minor Basilica de Sebastian for the traditional mother-son encounter was reenacted, as PTV's Noel Talakay reports live via phone patch. Good evening, Noel.
Good evening, Princess. After the Dungaw rites, a heap of garbage was left behind the devotees of Jesus Nazarene at the Plaza del Carmen. Therefore, the street sweeper
All right, let's try to go back to Noel in a short while.
This year's Translacion was not unlike the ones it preceded. Mammoth crowds along the processional route and a crush of devotees in the hundreds of thousands awaiting Jesus Nazareno's arrival at Quiapo Church, all wanting to get a close or a glimpse of the iconic religious image whose healing powers are legendary. This year's procession featured the twines pulling the carriage or andas, snapping a couple of hours apart as nighttime fell. PTV correspondent Vel Custodio filed this report.
Joe, the Philippine National Police heightened its security as the image of Jesus Nazareno is on its way here at the Plaza Miranda. Two PNP helicopter came into sight above the procession route. Marching police forces also came into view along Quinta earlier. Aside from the PNP, the Philippine Coast Guard was also deployed. The Bureau of Fire Protection and fire volunteers are also on standby. Ambulances have been put in place along and around the roads of the Translacion for faster first medical response. The sea of people was clear from Quinta to Isitan Recto, all waiting for the arrival of the icon of Jesus Nazareno. While waiting for the andas, devotees took time to hear any of the continuous string of holy masses, celebrating in the Minor Basilica and National Shrine of Jesus Nazareno. The movement of the procession is slowed down as the rope is snapped along Finance Road going along to Ayala Bridge, and the second rope broke upon arriving at the Sebastian Church. The andas is moving thanks to the combined strength of hijos and other volunteers. Joe, the sea of crowd is already waiting for the andas as the image of Jesus Nazareno is already going towards Hidalgo Street. And that's the latest update here at Quiapo, Maynila. From PTV, Vel Custodio, Balitang Pambansa.
Thanks so much, Vel Custodio. Good evening. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden, and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba are scheduled to hold a virtual trilateral call. This was confirmed by the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO. Acting Secretary Cesar Chavez. It will take place on Sunday, January 12. At this time, no information has been released regarding the agenda of the meeting. It's worth noting that the three countries also participated in a trilateral summit in Washington a year ago, where issues such as security cooperation, infrastructure development, and regional economic resilience were tackled.
Lady Louise Liza Araneta Marcos announced the next phase of the Pasig River rehabilitation will be launched in February. This project is part of ongoing efforts to restore the river's cleanliness and address environmental issues, including pollution and flooding. Local governments, environmental groups, and the private sectors are collaborating on the project's launch.
The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, strongly criticized the continued launching of ballistic missiles by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK, on January 6. The DFA emphasized these dangerous actions could affect the economy and peace in the Korean Peninsula and the Indo-Pacific region. DFA also called on the DPRK to stop these activities and follow international obligations.
The Department of Agriculture is optimistic that local rice production will recover this year after the drought, successive typhoons, and the Canlaon volcano eruption in 2024. The DA estimates achieving a local rice production level of 20 million metric tons again. Under the amended rice tariffication law, the aid allocated to boosting rice production has increased from 10 billion pesos to 30 billion pesos. Because of this, more irrigation systems, free fertilizers, and other forms of assistance are expected. Reduced volume of rice imported from other countries is also seen. Meanwhile, based on the data from the Bureau of Plant Industry or BPI, the highest volume of rice imports in history was recorded last year, reaching 4.68 million metric tons.
Ang pinakamandato at ang focus namin ay ang lokal na produksyon. Yung importation kasi, that's entirely out of the government hand. That's a business decision ng ating mga importers at saka ng traders.
For the meantime, let's go back to Noel as he is going to give us an update regarding the Dungaw or La Mirata. Noel, good evening.
Princess, after the Dungaw riots, a heap of garbage was left behind the devotees of Jesus Nazarene at Plaza del Carmen. The street sweepers of Manila City Hall immediately sweep the area to clear the debris. However, prior to this, a number of devotees increased leading up to the Dungaw riots. Several devotees required medical attention. Some had fainted and others were overcome by the crowd. Fainted devotees were lifted by fellow devotees and moved away from the densely packed area to receive first aid. The first floor of the barangay hall of Barangay 391 transformed into an emergency room as it served as the first aid station. Furthermore, when Jesus Nazarene carriage arrived at the Plaza del Carmen, it faced difficulty getting close to the balcony of the minor basilica and parish of San Sebastian Shrine of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. This was due to the devotees who were eager to get close to the carriage. Some even tried to climb onto the carriage in an attempt to touch the cross of the Nazarene. The Dungaw ceremony lasted only a few minutes, but it took almost an hour before the carriage could leave Plaza del Carmen due to the overwhelming crowd of devotees. Dungaw is a centuries-old Marian tradition where the revered image of Nuestra Señora del Carmen de San Sebastian is brought to the basilica's balcony to meet Jesus Nazareno as it passes Plaza del Carmen. Princess?
Many thanks, Noel Talakay.
Thousands of devotees joined the midnight Misa Mayor at the Carino Grandstand in honor of Jesus Nazareno, led by Manila Archbishop Jose Cardinal Advincula. His homily focused on hope and obedience, urging the faithful to follow Jesus' example. Before the Mass, an overnight vigil and reflections were held. Celebrities Dimples Romana, Coco Martin, and Macoy de Leon shared their devotion after the service. Around 140,000 individuals attended the Misa Mayor, with 220,000 gathering before the procession to Quiapo Church. No untoward incidents were reported, and authorities reminded those unwell to avoid joining.
The annual Translacion of Jesus Nazareno was also held in several places in Davao region. In Rizal Street, Tagum City, Davao del Norte devotees gathered at the Christ the Eucharistic King parish on the wee hours of the morning to attend the celebration of the feast of Jesus Nazareno. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the Mass began, followed by the Translacion. The procession started at Christ the Eucharistic King parish and proceeded to the Sagrado Corazon de Jesus Nazareno parish in Bermudez Compound, Apocom, Tagum City, where the Jesus Nazareno is enshrined. Meanwhile, in Davao City, Translacion began at 8 a.m. starting from San Alfonso Maria de Liguri Parish and concluding at the Our Lady of Peña Franca GKK Chapel in Mandug, Davao City. Devotees also participated by helping pull the rope of the carriage carrying the image of Jesus Nazareno while reciting the Rosary.
Ako po ay si Jeneline Esbidare, isang Agrarian Reform Beneficiary at residente sa Sitio Lunoy, Barangay Kabunga, Pasay City.
Musmus pa lamang si Jeneline, mulat na ito na tanging pagsasaka ang ikinabubuhay ng kanyang ama't ina. Ito rin ang nagudyok sa kanya na magsipag at maging determinado sa buhay. Labis ang kanyang saya nang siya rin ay kinilala bilang benepisyaryo ng DAR, kung saan binigyan siya ng pagkakataong magbigay ng mensahe sa harap ni Presidente Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.
Mahal Pangulo ng PBM at saka sa ating DAR Secretary na si Secretary Estrella, salamat po sa pag-grant ninyo sa amin ng lupa na sinasaka namin ngayon at saka yung pinapasalamatan naming lahat na magsasaka ay yung wala na kaming babayaran sa aming lupang sinasaka.
Patuloy rin na binibigyan ng samot-saring serbisyo ang mga ito upang makatulong na mas mapaunlad ang kanilang pang-ekonomiyang pamumuhay. Nakapagtala ang DAR po Iloilo ng 1,005 na mga titulong na ipamahagi kung saan 681 na mga ARVs ang nakabenepisyo mula sa 2,789 na mga titulo na naipamahagi sa buong riyon ng Western Visayas.
The Bureau of Immigration, or BI, has uncovered illegal POGO-like operations in the country despite President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive banning POGO activities. A raid conducted in Barangay Tambok, Parañaque City revealed a company involved in illegal operations and scams targeting foreign victims. Authorities discovered 400 foreign nationals running the scam. The individuals violated immigration laws and have been arrested. They will remain in custody until deportation and will be blacklisted from re-entering the country.
In the meanwhile, the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, or PAOC, is targeting foreign nationals involved in POGO-related online scamming. Half of the over 40,000 foreign nationals involved have left voluntarily. In January, DILG Secretary Junvic Remulla issued a memorandum banning POGO operations and preventing the renewal of related business permits and licenses. Local governments must report small-scale POGO operations and conduct inspections. The PAOC is also investigating local officials involved or allow POGO operations.
Ito pong problema natin sa scamming na ang gumagawa po is hacking. Yung mga POGO, yung mga POGO operation na yan. Ang pinagmumulan po kasi niyan, Sir Mike, yung mga SIM card na pre-registered, na mga, ang identities dun sa mga SIM cards po is mga fake po. Ano? Kaya every time na nag-iimbestiga kami, laging blank wall, Sir Mike, pag fake yung tao, fake yung address. So, mahirap po yung investigasyon na ginagawa namin. So, ang target kasama po sa mga targets namin ngayon is yung mga gumagawa po ng mga pre-registered SIM cards na yan na ginagamit po sa panloloko.
In other news, in an effort to strengthen environmental protection at the local level, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources in Calabarzon is advocating for the inclusion of environmental compliance in the criteria for the Seal of Good Local Governance. Philippine Information Agency Calabarzon's Ana Mole has the full report.
To further strengthen local government's role in environmental protection, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources is pushing to incorporate environmental compliance as a critical component in the assessment for the coveted Seal of Good Local Governance. The DNR is set to collaborate with the Department of the Interior and Local Government to support the move, highlighting that sustainability is everyone's role to foster growth and resilience.
Na-assess ng DILG ang bawat LGU. At doon lumalabas yung award na Seal of Local Governance. Ngayon, gagawin na ng bahagi ng performance evaluation ng isang barangay, ng isang munisipyo, yung compliance with environmental laws. So pagka bagsak sila doon, hindi nila makukuha yung seal of local governance.
The SGLG serves as a benchmark for excellent performance in various aspects of local governance. LGUs that meet all criteria, including the proposed environmental compliance, receive incentives and access to national programs and funding opportunities.
Kasi yung local governance ay hindi lang dahil dun sa local government code. Yung governance includes environment. Yes. So yan, work out lang natin yung policy guidelines yan in coordination with the DILG.
In 2024, 48 LGUs in Calabarzon received SGLG. DNR believes that with their proposal, communities will become more empowered in protecting the environment with their own policies and practices. From the Philippine Information Agency, Calabarzon, Ana Mole, Balitang Pambansa.
Tech or vocational skills are sought after and high-paying, and training for them is likely to get incorporated in the K-12 curriculum. So believes the South Cotabato Provincial Director, who strongly advocates for this landmark and game-changing proposal, as we hear more from Philippine Information Agency Sergeant Correspondent Sofia Tornos.
Senior high school students across the country are set to receive more specialized skills training, thereby improving their chances of getting a job or taking on a lifelong passion when they graduate. This as the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority and the Department of Education and other agencies strengthen collaboration for the inclusion of technical and vocational education training, or TVET, in the K-12 curriculum. TESDA South Cotabato Provincial Director Attorney Rabmore Thomas Bartolome said the proposed inclusion of TVET in senior high school education is in accordance with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s marching order to embed skills training in K-12 strands that would produce globally competitive Filipino workers.
So ang mandato po ng ating President, after po niya nakita at napakinggan ang presentation ng TESDA, nakita niya po yung importance of embedding tech voc training in the senior high school academic strands, and of course nakita niya po na this is a way to produce multi-skilled Filipinos in the future.
TESDA sees embedding TVET qualifications in the senior high school track as a way to promote lifelong learning and improve the employability of senior high school graduates. They will also be equipped with industry-relevant skills and knowledge. From the Philippine Information Agency SOCSERGEN, Sophia Zabati Turnos, Balitang Pambansa.
Unfortunately, with the staging of an event like the Translacion 2025 that involves a mammoth crowd, injuries are almost inevitable. PTV's Luisa Erispe gives us the updated numbers on the injury tally of those who took part in the iconic religious activity.
Fractured bones, lacerations, cuts, bruises, and loss of consciousness due to difficulty in breathing. These are the usual cases of injuries of devotees who joined the Translacion 2025. An example is a friend of Christopher and Thea, who was supposed to only help in distributing food. However, she insisted on climbing up the Nazareno and ultimately lost consciousness afterwards.
Nakatayo po yung pagbagsak niya, nasa harapan ko po siya. Tapos nung pinipilit ko po siyang kunin para ilabas ko siya sa agos, natuloy lang po sa agos. Hindi ko po siya makuha kahit nakahawak na ako sa damit niya. Kasi di rin po siya sumasabay sa agos eh.
Nakahiga po. Tapos wala po siyang malay. Tapos wala pong kumukuha sa kanya. Tapos ako kinuha ko siya para buhatin, para dalhin sa medic.
Another devotee was forcibly carried along with the procession. He unknowingly stepped on a broken glass and sustained cuts on the soles of his feet.
Nasa may gilid lang po ako nun eh. Tapos bagsaan na po yung mga tao. Tapos parang nadurog po yung bubog dahil po sa mga tao. Tapos ako po natamaan ng bubog.
Along with him is a man who fractured his shoulder after holding on to the rope that pulled the carriage, bearing the Jesus Nazareno image. According to the Philippine Red Cross, these cases are new compared to the tally of last year's cases. This may be caused by a larger crowd for this year's feast, estimated at close to 5 million people.
Karaniwan sa mga cases natin ay mga sugat, laceration, abrasion, puncture, yan yung mga nabububog dahil nga wala silang saplot sa paa. Para sa taon na ito, nadagdagan siya ng mga fracture, broken bone, dislocated shoulder, dislocated ankle. Yan. Nakikita namin na sa kadahilan ng mas madami yung tao. And compared also last year, medyo ulan yung panahon. Unlike ngayon, buong araw, maaraw at maganda yung panahon natin kaya mas madami ang mga deboto na dumalo.
But even though there are several major cases, the field hospital said they are ready to receive all of them, especially hundreds of minor cases requesting for a check on their vital signs in the aftermath of joining the procession. As of 5:15 p.m., the tally of Regional Incident Management Team indicated 734 patients catered by the field hospitals. Majority of these are minor cases, while some of the more serious cases were transported to nearby hospitals. Meanwhile, aside from injuries, a 15-year-old boy with Down syndrome was reported lost at around 3 in the afternoon, but because of the help of the Red Cross authorities, he was reunited with his parents, who are long-time devotees of the Nazareth. Authorities remind the public that in joining large crowd celebrations, it is better not to bring children or any valuables to them. From People's Television Network, Luisa Erispe para sa Balitang Pambansa.
Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista is optimistic the MRT4 construction will begin in 2026. This year, the Department of Transportation will focus on completing the detailed engineering, design, and acquiring necessary land. The DOTR has hired a Spanish consultant and 2 other companies for the design. Secretary Bautista noted the right-of-way acquisition should not be a problem as the project will use Ortigas Avenue. Funding for the project is secured with support from the Asian Development Bank, or ATB. The 15.5-kilometer rail line will serve areas in Mandaluyong, San Juan, Quezon, Pasig, Cainta, and Taytay, easing traffic in eastern Metro Manila. Once operational, MRT4 will serve 400,000 passengers daily.
And that concludes our rundown of the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news and information from all across the nation. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Joe Fernandez.
This is your trusted news source, always ready to inform and serve the Filipino people. Catch Balitang Pambansa again tomorrow at 7 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., and 9:30 p.m. for more updates and developments. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Princess Habiba Saripauda, and this is
Balitang Pambansa.